Good evening, Azeroth, and welcome to episode 153 of the World of Goldcraft. As usual, I'm your host, the Lazy Goldmaker of thelazygoldmaker.com, and well, I'm going to be talking about gold making. Welcome back to the show, and we're still not live because my wife's foot is still fractured, so I'm a single dad for the moment. So no streaming, probably no streaming until she's fully healed. Might do one next week, we'll see. Either way, the podcast is made available by the support of my patrons that, amongst other things, can get access to, 7 days of early access to all the guides I post at thelazygoldmaker.com. So if you want to leg up on your competition, you know where to go. It's patreon.com/thelazygoldmaker. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today it's going to be a little bit of a focus on retail WoW, and we're going to be speculating about 9.1.5 because 9.1.5 has some pretty exciting changes. Or perhaps the changes themselves aren't that exciting, but they will have some interesting and exciting effects to the legendary market. So we're going to discuss these changes, what they might mean for legendaries, and how you can or should respond. Now, before I go into any of this is pure speculation, and my track record on predicting like specific price moves in the future is not perfect. So just be aware that any of what I say here could be completely wrong. That's every opportunity. So if you wanna invest based on what based on my thoughts, my best ideas, then be aware that you might lose it all. Now, legendaries have been the most consistent, the strongest gold making method with crafting professions in Shadowlands by a very significant margin. And we're going to see some changes in 9.1.5 that will have a large effect on that market, both in the short term and the longer term. So what are the relevant changes? Well, two of them are working a little bit in tandem. And then the last one is off to the side. So soul cinders is getting uncapped. That's the main thing. In 9.1, you can only farm X amount per week. In 9.1.5, they increase the soul cinders amount per Torghast wing, and you get full soul cinders for repeated runs. So if you want a new rank 6 legendary, you just run Torghast for 3 or 4 times or whatever, and you'll have enough, and you can go craft it. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, number one, it's going to be very easy to have enough soul cinders, or very relatively straightforward to just farm it whenever you want it. So you've leveled a new character to 60 and you need the rank 6 legendary. You just blast through Torghast and 3, 4, 5 times. I don't know exactly how many you'll need. And then you'll have enough soul ash and cinders and you'll just go craft a rank 6 legendary. Boom, you're ready to go. Now, this should absolutely kill rank 5 demand. Now, personally, I haven't kept rank 5s in stock. But with this, like, rank 5s are now absolutely useless. And then, in addition to this, players are going to be allowed to swap covenants freely once they reach 80 renown, I think, is the most likely level. Now, these two things in combination should increase demand for rank 6 legendaries quite considerably, particularly in the short term. A lot of players might want to craft some extra legendaries for specs that they can now test. If you're playing a character where one of your specs is way better with a covenant that you couldn't play, that isn't the best for the main spec you're playing right now, for instance, you might not have bothered getting the legendaries for it, but now that you can just go swap and just be like a Venthyr Boomkin or whatever you want to be, you can go do that. And that might also mean that more people are going to want the Covenant-specific legendaries for those new covenants that they might test out. So these two things in combination will work to increase demand for legendaries, particularly rank 6 legendaries. Not so much the other ranks. I don't think they're going to be impacted positively, at least, by this change. You'll also be allowed to recycle legendaries in some sort of like legendary scrapper type system, but I don't really see that being relevant. You can just farm soul cinders instead. And if you're geared, I mean, Torghast runs don't take that long. You can get a group and just slam through it with some guildies. Torghast can actually be pretty fun if you're on a group on like Discord and talking and chatting and stuff and just memeing. And just like run 4 or 5 times with a group really quickly and you're done. I'm sure there will be tons of groups in the group finder for people who just want to farm this really quickly. So I don't really see the scrapper having an effect here. It's just like, why would you destroy your legendary? That's a lot of gold down the drain. And it's not going to make your new legendary cheaper unless it drops, unless you get the base item back or something, but that would be surprising. I haven't checked out PTR, so I don't know what you get back. The other change that's massive is that material drop rates from nodes and mobs will be increased. Not for every material, but for some very important ones for legendaries. All ores increased by 20%, lightless silk increased, callus hides and heavy callus hides rates increased, and 10% increased essences from prospecting. Obviously, there's going to be way more materials available for sale. They're going to go down in price. And that's going to lead to legendaries going down in price as well. Now, 20% might not seem like that much of an increase, but that's probably going to have a much larger effect on the prices than you might think. I wouldn't be surprised to see prices like fall as much as 40-50% less than what they are now. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't shock me. Of course, I don't know exactly where they're going to end up. And there's going to be a period in the middle here, which is the most interesting. Like, okay, what happens when the patch launches and everyone's going to farm soul cinders and craft a bunch of legendaries week 1? We haven't farmed the new materials yet. That's the real question to answer. So as I said, we have these two major effects from the changes. One effect that's going to significantly increase the demand for rank 6 legendaries, and only rank 6 legendaries in my opinion, which might increase demand enough that prices spike up, or it might not. And then we have the effect that there's going to be a lot more supply of materials and thus presumably lower prices, and this is a much of a longer term effect that's permanent forever. Now the demand effect is likely short term. Like there'll be a lot of people wanting to craft new rank 6 legendaries for the first week or two to test out new specs and test out new covenants and all that jazz. And then they'll have done that. And then they don't need their more rank 6 legendaries. So I think this is going to be a very short-lived like bonanza, most likely. There will also, of course, there will be slower players and alts and people buying legendaries down the line. That happens. People are still buying rank 1 legendaries to this day. I'm still selling rank 1 to 3 legendaries currently. But I do think that we're going to see some pretty incredible sale rates. The sale speed for rank 6s should be pretty high in the week following the patch. But whether or not the prices will be significantly higher than currently, that's a little bit uncertain. I think that there's a limit to how much people are willing to pay for a rank 6 legendary that's going to be for like an off spec or like an M+ off spec or whatever, which is what this is going to be, because most people have farmed the stuff they want for their main spec and what they care the most about. But there's definitely, I don't think they'll be willing to pay like 10, 20, or they might be willing to pay 10k more than they're worth today. But what's going to happen with other things, I don't know. Now, if we're looking for things to invest in, things to do, there's one thing I think we can stock up on and be a little safe. Corythite crystals. Corythite crystals drop rate are currently, as far as we know, not being changed. And they can't be target farmed en masse. They're just generated by people doing Corythia, and that's limited. That's a daily limited amount. So we might see Corythite crystals run dry during the first day or two. We could see Corythite crystals spike up in price, and that's what would drive up the price of rank 6 legendaries. If anything, it's going to be the Corythite crystals. Of course, the other materials aren't going to be impacted directly by the changes in drop rate for ore. Well, it's for all of the ores, so that's a bad example, but callus hide price isn't going to directly impact the price of desolate leather, for instance. But the price might go down just because when the price goes down on the legendaries, people just might want to cut costs whenever they can and not pay as much. We'll see. It depends a little bit on the farming spots and what people are doing on the farming side as well. I haven't really decided if I'll stock up or how much, but I do have some. I do think that we could see some short-term undersupply, and I feel like I want to have a good chunk of rank 6 legendaries ready to go. So it's going to be exciting. But it only makes sense to stock up like this if you know that you can spend a good amount of time immediately after the patch to repost and cancel scan rank 6 legendaries. If you're going to stock up ahead of time, you need to get your sales within the first couple of days. You need to sell out the majority of that stock, because then the increased material amount is going to start really coming in. And this is also something that an effect here is, as well, is how much botting will there be, or how much botting is there in the World of Warcraft economy. If a lot of materials are being generated by bots, which some people think, I don't know, but that could be possible, then that's going to probably bring down the price quite significantly, because they're going to be just generating so much extra materials that they need to get rid of. 20% more, it's going to be incredible amounts of stuff getting into the auction house. Now, some things you don't want to keep in stock. The lower rank legendaries. With soul cinders now being easy to get as many as you need, I'm a little scared of keeping rank 4s. Rank 4s have been giga profitable throughout 9.1 because of the fact that it's very easy to get enough soul ash for rank 4, and then you're stuck on that waiting for the soul cinders. But that's not going to be the case anymore. In 9.1.5, it's just you just farm straight for rank 6. So why would you stop at rank 4? I could see something like tailoring where the rank 4s are pretty cheap. Maybe people might buy them every once in a while, just like people are buying some of the other lower rank legendaries these days. But for some others, I'd be very, very scared to keep a lot of stuff in stock. One in particular here is Jewelcrafting, as Jewelcrafting gets a double whammy of effects. Sadly, you get an increased drop rate of ores from mining nodes, so there's going to be more ore, so ore will be cheaper. And then in addition to that, you get more essences per ore prospected. So the ore is going to be cheaper, you'll get more essences per ore, which means that essences are going to be a lot cheaper than they are currently. They're going to get the double effect. So they're very, 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 very scary to that point. After the patch, I honestly think that rank 6 legendaries are the only ones with a strong sale rate after the patch. It doesn't mean that you can't sell the lower ranks after the patch, but it's going to be the same. Like rank 4 is probably going to be the same as all the other low ranks are now at best, and it might be worse. It might be that it's so easy to just slam through Torghast, depending on how much the soul cinders have been increased, that people just blast Torghast until they get to rank 6. Another fun thing, or another interesting thing, is that now that you can earn equal amounts of cinders whenever you do Torghast, and it's no longer tied to the weekly reset, this market is not going to be like concentrated fully into the Wednesdays and Thursdays, which is what it's typically been right now, where you get probably like 60-70% of your sales on Wednesday and Thursday when the stuff is reset and people can crank out more soul cinders. But now you can generate soul cinders whenever you play, so sales are going to be more evenly spread out. There'll probably be more sales on like the main playing days, because that's when more people are going to be doing Torghast to get enough soul cinders. But we'll see how it shakes out. The weekly reset might still be like a main thing that people are getting it for, like their raid night or whatever. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Now this might also actually drive down your average sales prices a bit, because at least what I've been seeing is that often on Wednesdays there are shortages of certain ranks of legendaries. They run out, someone resets it. But now that people are going to be buying more spread out over the week, there's less chance of a lot of people buying at the same time and emptying the market out. So I do think that you won't get those like spike prices. You'll just be getting your average profit on a daily basis. So yeah. Now, as I said, I've been right and wrong in the past, but I do think it's pretty safe to say that materials are going to be cheaper when there's just going to be way more of them available. The question is how much cheaper. 10 to 20%, as I said, it might not sound like too much, but I feel like it can have a very large effect on the price, and we might see price, particularly for the essences. But yeah, the interesting thing to predict is, or try to guess at, or be correct about more, is the behavior of legendaries during the first week. We could see anything from the prices collapsing alongside materials, to auction houses running completely out of quartzite crystals and rank 6s selling for massive prices. I'm leaning more towards rank 6s selling for decent prices and at very high speed. But yeah. So overall, what should you do? Now, personally, well, not yet, but soon I would start decreasing the restock quantity of legendaries below rank 6, particularly reducing the number of rank 4 legendaries you keep in stock. I would also probably slightly increase rank 6 stocking, but that's a little riskier as we know that material prices are going down eventually. I would also consider buying up an okay supply of quartzite crystals, start buying a little bit more when they're cheap. Just to make sure that you can craft through 9.1.5 launch if it turns out that that sales go through the roof and they're just flying off the shelves. If you want to go risky, then stock up something like 5 to 10 of each rank 6 legendary, particularly for the non-shard slots, and then a couple more, like 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, something like that for the shard of domination slots. That's absolutely not guaranteed to pay off though. But in the best case, you're going to be making a lot of gold. In the worst case, you're probably not going to lose too much, but you are at risk. You are risking your capital there. I do feel that prices are, as I said, I feel they're a little capped, because this is not people's first legendary. So I doubt that they're willing to pay the exorbitant prices that they were willing to pay at 9.1 launch, but we'll see. The main thing to really avoid stocking up on, in my opinion, is Jewelcrafting legendaries. They are the ones that will see the hardest fall, because essences get the double effect from both increased rates and increased rates of ores. So I feel like they're going to go down quite significantly in price. Blacksmithing as well, maybe, since the zone-specific ores are also increasing in quantity. So both Shadowgas ingots and Elysium bars are going to be cheaper. But we'll see. All of them, for all of the legendaries, it's the most expensive materials, or a very, very large portion of the materials, that are going to see increased supply. So overall, I do expect prices on legendaries to be quite a bit lower. And going to limit our gold making potential long term, of course, a little bit, because everything is going to be cheaper. But then, I mean, who knows what 9.2 is going to bring about? That's where we'll see another crazy market if they keep the same system. Although these changes might also indicate that they want to slow down the extreme gold cost of legendary for players, because there's no hiding the fact that for people looking to get rank 5, rank 6 legendaries early on, they were paying pretty high prices. And to many people, having the right legendary feels sort of like a ticket to actually play the game, something you need to have. Even though you don't, strictly speaking, need to have it at max rank, it feels like you need to have it to optimize your character. So yeah, guys, that's it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. What's your opinion on 9.1.5? What's going to happen? Are you investing? Are you not? Let us know. Otherwise, just like the video if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or wherever you're listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye, guys.